The massive research vessel hung silently in Earth's orbit, its metallic hull reflecting the dim light of the distant sun. Through the ship's main viewing window, lead researcher Gray stared at the planet below, his four eyes blinking in disbelief at the endless white expanse that covered the once blue world. "Remarkable," he muttered, touching the cold glass with his long fingers. 100,000 years of isolation, and the planet is completely frozen. Behind him, his research team worked quietly at their stations, analyzing data streams that poured in from their scanning equipment. The ship's computer spoke in its calm, measured voice. Surface temperature analysis complete. Average planetary temperature, -60 degrees Celsius. Ice sheet thickness varies between 2 to 4 kilometers. Gray turned to his assistant, Tom, who was hunched over a holographic display. "What do the deep scans show? Any signs of the civilization that once existed here?" Tom shook his head, his green skin reflecting the soft light of the ship's interior. "Nothing obvious, sir. The ice seems to have destroyed or buried most surface structures. We're detecting some mineral deposits that might be remnants of their cities, but it's hard to tell." The Watchers had discovered Earth during their routine survey of abandoned worlds. Their civilization had long known about Earth and its inhabitants, but an ancient law had forbidden interference with developing planets. When their long-range sensors detected the onset of a severe ice age on Earth, the Galactic Council had decided to quarantine the planet, assuming its primitive inhabitants would either perish or regress to simple survival. Gray walked to the ship's central command console. "Begin the revival sequence. Let's see if anything survived this long winter." His fingers danced across the holographic controls, initiating the complex terraforming protocols their civilization had perfected over millennia. From the belly of the research vessel, hundreds of small probes descended toward Earth's surface. They pierced the thick atmosphere, their heat shields glowing orange, as they scattered across the globe. Each probe buried itself deep in the ice, activating powerful heating elements that began the slow process of melting the frozen world. Estimated time to create the first open water zones: 3 Earth days, the computer announced. Full planetary thaw will require approximately 2 Earth years. Gray nodded, satisfied with the timeline. He looked at the main screen showing a map of probe deployments. Something caught his eye. An unusual reading from one of the probes in what had once been a region called North America. "Tom, look at this," Gray called out. "Probe 247 is detecting some kind of energy signature beneath the ice. Very faint, but it's there." Tom moved to his station and enhanced the readings. "That's strange. It appears to be some form of thermal emission. Natural geothermal activity, perhaps." "No," Gray said slowly, his scientific mind racing with possibilities. "The pattern is too regular. Run a comparison with known energy signatures." The computer processed the request for several seconds. Analysis complete. Pattern matches artificial power generation systems, but technology level exceeds historical records of Earth civilization by approximately 500%. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Gray felt his heart beating faster as he considered the implications. Expand the scan radius. Check for similar signatures across the planet. New data flooded the screens as the ship's sensors probed deeper beneath the ice. What they found made Gray step back in shock. Dozens, then hundreds of similar energy signatures appeared across the globe, forming a complex network that spanned continents. "Impossible," Tom whispered. "The Ice Age should have destroyed their civilization. They were barely starting to harness electricity when we last observed them." Gray stared at the growing web of energy signatures, a mixture of excitement and unease washing over him. "Send a message to the Council," he ordered. "Tell them we found something unprecedented. Earth's story didn't end when the ice came. It seems it just went underground." The research vessel continued its orbit around the frozen planet, its crew unaware that deep below the ice, they too were being watched and studied by eyes far more advanced than they had imagined possible. 3 days into the thawing process, the first patches of dark ocean began to appear through Earth's icy shell. Gray stood at his usual spot by the viewing window, watching as another thermal probe melted its way through the thick ice sheet below. "Sir," Tom called from his station, "we're getting unusual readings from Sector 7. His fingers moved quickly across the holographic display. "The ice isn't melting according to our calculations. Something's affecting the process." Gray moved to examine the data. The thermal probe in Sector 7 had created a perfect circular hole through the ice, but instead of continuing downward, it had stopped at what appeared to be a solid metal surface. "Magnify the scan," Gray ordered. The image zoomed in, revealing a massive metal plate stretching for kilometers in every direction. Its surface was covered in strange markings that the ship's computer couldn't identify. "That's not natural," Tom said, stating the obvious. "The metal's composition. It's unlike anything in our database." Gray felt a shiver run down his spine. "Launch an exploration pod. I want to see this up close." Within minutes, Gray and 2 other researchers descended through Earth's atmosphere in a small pod. They hovered over the newly created hole in the ice, their craft's lights illuminating the dark metal surface below. "Temperature reading at the metal surface is exactly 0 degrees Celsius, reported Reed, the team's engineer. "It's being maintained artificially. Something's generating heat from below." As they watched, a section of the metal surface suddenly shifted. Panels slid apart with precise mechanical movements, revealing a dark opening large enough for their pod to enter. "They know we're here," Tom whispered, his voice filled with both fear and excitement. Gray made a decision. "Take us down." Slowly, the pod descended through the opening. They found themselves in a massive artificial cavern, illuminated by strips of soft blue light that seemed to stretch endlessly in both directions. The air was breathable, and the temperature was a comfortable 20 degrees Celsius. "This is impossible," Reed muttered, checking his instruments. These systems must have been running continuously for 100,000 years. They landed the pod on a smooth platform that looked like a designated landing area. As they prepared to exit, their pod sensors detected movement in the surrounding darkness. "Multiple heat signatures approaching," Tom announced, his voice tense. "They're walking." Gray adjusted his atmospheric suit and moved toward the pod's exit. "Remember our protocols. No weapons. We're here to observe and learn." The pod's door opened with a soft hiss. Gray stepped out, followed by his team. From the shadows emerged several figures, walking with confidence and purpose. They were human, but not quite like the ancient records had shown. These humans stood taller than their ancestors, their skin pale from generations of underground life. They wore form-fitting suits made of a material that seemed to shift colors like flowing mercury. Their eyes reflected the blue light, appearing to glow slightly in the dim cavern. "Welcome, Watchers," one of them spoke in perfect universal language, shocking Gray's team into silence. "We've been expecting you for quite some time." Gray struggled to find his voice. You know who we are." The human smiled. "We've been monitoring your civilization's activities for the past 50,000 years. Your arrival was predicted within a 2-year window." Tom stepped forward. "But how? Your civilization was primitive when the ice came." Another human joined the first, carrying what looked like a handheld device. "Primitive? No, we simply chose a different path. The Ice Age wasn't our end, it was our catalyst." Gray looked around the massive cavern with new eyes, suddenly aware that everything they thought they knew about Earth and its inhabitants was wrong. The rescue mission they had planned was quickly becoming something else entirely. "We have much to show you," the first human said, gesturing toward a brightly lit corridor. "That is, if you're ready to learn how humanity really survived the long winter." Gray nodded slowly, knowing that this discovery would change the galaxy's understanding of human potential forever. They hadn't found survivors of an apocalypse. They had found masters of adaptation who had turned catastrophe into opportunity. Gray and his team followed their human guides through the brightly lit corridor. The walls seemed to pulse with a soft blue light that came from within the material itself. After walking for several minutes, they emerged onto a viewing platform that made all four of Gray's eyes widen in amazement. Before them stretched an underground city that defied imagination. Massive buildings rose from the cavern floor, their surfaces gleaming with the same strange metal they had discovered above. Flying vehicles moved in orderly lanes between the structures, while thousands of humans went about their daily lives on the streets and walkways below. "Welcome to Deep Haven 1, said their guide, who had introduced himself as Director Stone. "Current population, 2 million citizens." Reed fumbled with his scanning device. "The energy readings are off the scale. How are you powering all of this?" Stone led them to a railing and pointed downward. Far below the city, a massive sphere of swirling energy pulsed with a deep red glow. "Geothermal tap," he explained. "We learned to harness the Earth's core itself. This single tap powers our entire city network, and we have hundreds more across the planet." Tom stared at the energy sphere. "Our scientists said this kind of technology was theoretically impossible." "Theory becomes necessity when survival is at stake," Stone replied with a slight smile. "When we detected the coming ice age, we had two choices: beg for help from watching alien civilizations, or solve the problem ourselves." A transport pod approached their platform and opened its doors. The inside was larger than it appeared from the outside, with comfortable seating for all of them. As they entered, Stone touched a control panel, and the pod smoothly joined the flow of traffic. "We have 37 cities of this size connected by high-speed transport tunnels," Stone continued as they flew through the city. "The tunnels use magnetic levitation technology. We can travel from one side of the planet to the other in less than 2 hours." They passed through a massive farming section where plants grew in spiraling towers under artificial sunlight. "We developed methods to grow food without natural sunlight," Stone explained. "Our harvests are continuous, and we produce enough to feed 10 times our current population." The pod descended to a research facility where hundreds of humans worked at stations with holographic displays far more advanced than anything on the Watcher's ship. Gray noticed that many of the humans had subtle cybernetic enhancements, thin lines of light that ran along their arms or small devices attached to their temples. "Your technology," Gray said carefully, "it's far beyond what we expected to find. Why didn't you reach out to the stars? Why stay hidden under the ice?" Stone's expression grew serious. "We watched how other young civilizations were treated when they joined the galactic community. Always as junior partners, always learning, never teaching. We decided to wait until we could meet other species as equals." The pod stopped at a vast chamber filled with what looked like warships, though their design was like nothing Gray had ever seen. "These are our defense fleet," Stone said calmly. "We've never used them, but their existence has helped us sleep better at night, especially when we detected your ships entering our solar system." Gray felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. "You could have stopped us from melting the ice." "We could have," Stone agreed. "But we've been debating whether it's time to rejoin the galaxy. Your arrival helped us make that decision. The question is, are you ready to accept that the primitive species you came to rescue is now your technological equal?" The pod returned to the viewing platform, and Gray looked out at the underground city again. He thought about how his people would react to this discovery. An entire civilization had not only survived but thrived, hidden beneath the ice. They had taken a hostile environment and turned it into an advantage, developing technologies that his people had never imagined. "I think," Gray said slowly, "that the galaxy has much to learn from Earth." Back on their research vessel, Gray paced the bridge while his team processed everything they had seen. The ship's main screen displayed images and data from their visit to Deep Haven 1, each piece of information more shocking than the last. "Our entire mission plan is useless," Tom said, staring at his display. "We came to rescue a dying world, but they don't need our help at all." Reed burst into the bridge, his green skin slightly paler than usual. "Sir, you need to see this. I finished analyzing their technology level." He connected his data pad to the main screen, and a series of charts appeared. "They're ahead of us in almost every field." Gray stopped pacing. "Show me." The screen filled with comparisons. Human energy production was 3 times more efficient than the Watchers. Their medical technology had eliminated most diseases, and their citizens lived twice as long as the galactic average. Their computers processed information 10 times faster than anything in known space. How did they advance so quickly? Tom wondered aloud. 100,000 years is nothing in cosmic time. A message alert flashed on the main screen. Director Stone's face appeared, looking amused. "I thought you might have questions. Would you like to see more?" Minutes later, they were back in a transport pod, but this time they were traveling through one of the underground transport tunnels. The pod moved so smoothly and quickly that it felt like they were standing still, even though the display showed they were moving at thousands of kilometers per hour. "Necessity drove our advancement," Stone explained as they traveled. "When you can't live on the surface, you have to think differently about everything. Space became precious. Energy became everything. We couldn't waste anything." The pod emerged into another city, this one built inside a natural cavern with crystal formations that reached hundreds of meters high. "Deep Haven 7, Stone announced. "Our science center." They entered a vast laboratory where humans were working on what looked like a small sun contained within energy fields. "Fusion power," Stone said casually. "We mastered it 40,000 years ago. The prototype you're seeing is our newest design, about twice as efficient as our current reactors." Gray watched as human scientists manipulated matter at the atomic level with casual ease. In another section, researchers were testing what appeared to be artificial gravity controls far more advanced than anything the Watchers possessed. But the most important advancement, Stone continued, leading them to a special chamber, was in how we think. The chamber walls lit up with displays showing human brain patterns. "We learned to use our full mental potential. Every human child now develops abilities that your people would consider impossible." As if to demonstrate, Stone raised his hand, and a cup floated across the room to him. "Psychic ability is just the beginning. We learned to connect our minds directly to our computers, to share thoughts across vast distances, to see possible futures." Tom stepped back involuntarily. "You're not just humans anymore. You've evolved." Stone smiled kindly. "We're still human. We just finally grew into what we were always meant to be." He turned to Gray. "Your people quarantined Earth because you thought we would die or regress to primitive survival. Instead, we used the isolation to grow stronger." Gray felt overwhelmed. Everything he had believed about humanity, about his own civilization's superiority, was crumbling. "What do you want from us?" he asked finally. "Want?" Stone looked surprised. "We don't want anything from you. The question is, what can we offer you? Your civilization has reached a plateau. We've seen it before. Maybe it's time for humanity to help guide others for a change." The implications of Stone's words hung in the air. The rescuers had become the ones being offered help. Gray looked at his team, seeing his own mixture of fear, amazement, and curiosity reflected in their expressions. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would be leading the way. The next day, Gray and his team were invited to attend a meeting of Earth's Global Council. The meeting chamber was a vast circular room deep within Deep Haven 1, with seats arranged in rising tiers around a central platform. Hundreds of human leaders from different cities had gathered to discuss the situation. Director Stone stood on the central platform, addressing both the Human Council and the alien visitors. Behind him, a massive holographic display showed the history of Earth's transformation. "When our scientists first detected the coming ice age," Stone began, "we faced a choice that would define our species. The easy path was to signal the watching alien ships we knew orbited our solar system. We could have begged for help. The display showed ancient images of Earth's surface cities, followed by early weather predictions showing the advancing ice sheets. But our leaders made a different choice, Stone continued. We looked at the galactic community and saw how primitive species were treated. Always dependent, always following, never truly equal. We decided that humanity would find its own way. Tom leaned forward in his seat. But the scale of what you built, how did you manage it in secret? An elderly woman stood from the council seats. I can answer that, she said. I am keeper of history, Rose. We had already detected your observation satellites. We knew their capabilities and limitations. Every surface construction was designed to look primitive while we built our real civilization underground. The display showed early construction of the underground cities. Massive boring machines carved out caverns while surface teams carefully disposed of the excavated material in ways that would look natural from orbit. The Ice Age became our shield, Rose explained. Under its cover, we could develop without interference. Each challenge we faced forced us to innovate. When traditional farming became impossible, we created our vertical gardens. When surface mining was no longer an option, we learned to transmute elements. When communication cables froze, we mastered quantum entanglement. Gray noticed something peculiar about the chamber. Your technology. It feels alive somehow. Stone nodded. That's because it is. We learned to grow our machines, to merge biological and mechanical systems. Our cities aren't just built, they're grown. They repair themselves, evolve to meet our needs, and even help raise our children. The holographic display shifted to show Earth's current state, a complex network of underground cities spanning the entire planet, connected by high-speed tunnels that formed a web around the planet's core. We didn't just survive the Ice Age, Stone said proudly. We used it. The surface ice became our protection, our camouflage, and our power source. We harvested its pressure to generate energy. We used its weight to compress materials in ways that would be impossible otherwise. Another council member, a young man with subtle cybernetic enhancements, stood up. We watched as other young civilizations joined the galactic community. We saw them adopt alien technologies instead of developing their own. They gained the stars but lost their unique path of development. The display showed various alien worlds, all using similar technologies, building similar cities, following similar paths. Humanity chose a harder road, Stone concluded. We refused to take shortcuts. Every piece of technology we have, we developed ourselves. Every advancement came from human minds solving human problems. And now, he turned to face Gray directly. We're ready to share what we've learned. Gray stood slowly, aware that every eye in the chamber was on him. You could have stopped us from melting the ice. You could have remained hidden. Why reveal yourselves now? Stone smiled. Because it's time. The galaxy has grown stagnant. The same technologies, the same solutions, the same thinking spread from world to world. Perhaps what the galaxy needs now is a fresh perspective, a human perspective. The chamber fell silent as everyone considered the implications. Humanity hadn't just survived. They had created something entirely new. And now they were offering to share their knowledge with the galaxy, not as students, but as teachers. A week after the council meeting, Gray stood on the bridge of his research vessel, preparing to contact the Galactic Council. His hand shook slightly as he activated the communication system. The faces of 12 alien leaders appeared on the main screen, their expressions a mixture of concern and curiosity. Lead researcher Gray, the council head spoke. Your daily reports stopped suddenly. We assumed the worst. What have you discovered on Earth? Gray took a deep breath. Honored Council, Earth is not what we expected. The humans didn't just survive. They've advanced far beyond our predictions. He transmitted the data his team had collected. The council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs as they reviewed the information. Images of the underground cities, the advanced technology, and the massive infrastructure flashed across their screens. Impossible, one council member declared. This must be a mistake. No species could advance this quickly on their own. At that moment, all the screens flickered, and Director Stone appeared alongside Gray. The council members jerked back in surprise. "Greetings, Galactic Council," Stone said calmly. "We thought it was time to introduce ourselves properly." The council head's colors shifted in agitation. "How did you access this secure channel?" Stone smiled. "We've been accessing your secure channels for the past 50,000 years. How else could we learn about the galaxy while staying hidden? Your encryption technology is quite primitive by our standards." As if to demonstrate, the holographic displays in the council chamber came to life, showing detailed records of every secret council session regarding Earth. The council members watched in stunned silence as their private discussions about the primitive humans played back before them. "You've been watching us?" another council member asked, their voice trembling. "Just as you watched us," Stone replied. "But we saw more than you realized. We saw how you guided young civilizations down predetermined paths, how you shaped them to fit your vision of proper development." Gray watched as the power dynamic in the room shifted dramatically. The council members, used to being the most advanced beings in any conversation, suddenly found themselves struggling to understand what they were seeing. "Your rescue mission," Stone continued, "while well-intentioned, was unnecessary. In fact," he gestured, and new data appeared on their screens. "We've already developed several solutions to reverse the Ice Age. We simply chose not to implement them yet." The council head leaned forward. "Why reveal yourselves now?" "Because the galaxy needs change," Stone explained. "Your civilization has stopped growing. You've become comfortable, predictable. When was the last time you truly innovated?" As if on cue, images of human innovations appeared. Their living technology, their mental enhancements, their energy systems that defied conventional physics. "We're not here to challenge your authority," Stone assured them. "We're here to offer something more valuable. A new perspective. Humanity took a different path, faced different challenges, and found different solutions." Gray stepped forward. "Honored Council, I've seen their achievements firsthand. They don't need our help or guidance. If anything," he paused, gathering his courage, "we need theirs." The council chamber erupted in heated discussion. Some members argued for immediately classifying Earth as a top-tier civilization. Others wanted to study human technology first. A few even suggested seeing humans as a potential threat. Stone waited patiently for the noise to die down. "We have no interest in your political structures or rankings. We simply offer an exchange of knowledge. Whether you accept is your choice." The council head looked from Stone to Gray and back again. "You've hidden an entire civilization from us for 100,000 years. How can we trust you?" Stone's response was simple. "The same way we're trusting you now, by taking a chance on something new. The Ice Age taught us that survival sometimes means embracing the unknown." The meeting ended with more questions than answers, but one thing was clear. The galaxy's power structure had shifted forever. The rescuers had become the students, and humanity was ready to teach. 1 month after the revelation of Earth's true state, the planet's surface had started to change. Carefully controlled areas of ice were melting, revealing the first human surface structures in 100,000 years. Gray watched from an observation platform as a massive building emerged from the receding ice, its surface gleaming in the pale sunlight. "It's strange," Tom said, standing beside him. "We came here thinking we would find a dead world. Instead, we found a civilization more alive than our own." Director Stone approached them, accompanied by several human engineers. They were supervising the controlled thaw, ensuring that the process didn't disrupt the delicate balance of Earth's new ecosystems. "The surface cities will be different from what you might expect," Stone explained. "We're not simply moving up from below. These structures are grown, not built. They adapt to their environment and repair themselves, just like living things." As if to demonstrate, a section of the emerging building shifted, its surface rippling like liquid metal as it adjusted its shape to better handle the wind patterns. Gray had never seen anything like it. The Galactic Council has been in chaos since our revelation, Gray mentioned. Some members are excited about learning from humans. Others are afraid. Stone nodded thoughtfully. Change is always frightening. We understand that better than most. When we chose to face the Ice Age alone, many humans were terrified. But fear can either paralyze you or push you to grow. A group of young human students passed by, their neural interfaces glowing softly as they shared thoughts and ideas without speaking. They were part of the first exchange program. Human knowledge would be shared with other civilizations, while Earth would learn about the current state of the galaxy. Already, 50 worlds have requested to learn our biological technology methods, Stone said. And we've received fascinating information about different approaches to space travel from the Galactic Archives. Everyone has something to teach, and everyone has something to learn. Reed rushed up to the platform, excitement clear on his face. Sir, the human scientists just showed me how their quantum communication system works. It's brilliant. They use principles we never even considered. Gray smiled at his engineer's enthusiasm. The past month had transformed his entire team from respected researchers into eager students. The humans had a way of making every discovery feel like an adventure. In the distance, a massive transport ship descended from the sky. It carried representatives from various alien civilizations, coming to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. But unlike the usual protocol where new civilizations had to prove their worth, these diplomats came as equals, eager to learn from humanity's unique development. We're opening the first Surface Academy next week, Stone announced, a place where different species can learn from each other, not just about technology, but about different ways of thinking, of solving problems. Tom looked worried. Some critics say you're giving away your advantages. They don't understand why you'd share your advanced technology so freely. Stone's response was calm but firm. Keeping knowledge to yourself doesn't make you stronger. It makes you stagnant. The Ice Age taught us that adaptation and growth come from facing challenges together. The galaxy has been divided into teachers and students for too long. It's time for everyone to be both. Gray watched as more of the surface city emerged from the ice. It was beautiful in a way he hadn't expected. A perfect blend of natural and artificial, of strength and adaptation, just like humanity itself. What happens now? He asked. Now. Stone smiled. Now we all grow together. Humanity is ready to join the galaxy, not as a primitive species needing rescue, but as equals with our own gifts to share. And maybe, just maybe, we can help create a galaxy where every civilization is encouraged to find its own unique path. As the sun set on the changing Earth, Gray realized that his mission had succeeded, but not in the way he'd expected. They had come to rescue humanity from the Ice Age, only to discover that humanity had used that very challenge to become something remarkable. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what it needed.